Everybody's chasing the C2 level, but nobody even knows what it means. What does it mean? Let's talk about why these levels A1 to C2 don't matter and what is really your level and what really matters. I'm in the kitchen, I'm cooking, and this is about to get spicy, so buckle up, we're going for a ride. My original idea for this video was to make a "What is your English level?" video. Even though I've talked about it before, I don't like those kinds of videos. I don't like this level system. I don't like it. I was always skeptical about it, but these videos are really popular on YouTube. So I said, okay, well, maybe I'll make one of these videos and just say, don't take it so seriously. Take it with a grain of salt, but this is your level according to this system if you're interested. So I asked ChatGPT to give me a test, an example test to determine if you are A1 to C2 for a YouTube video. Well, I said just do B1 to C2 because if you're A1 to A2, you can't even understand my videos in English. So this isn't even for you. But anyway, so I looked at what ChatGPT gave me for a test. The questions were, in my opinion, horrible. They were multiple choice questions. So you have the question and then 4 possible answers. Well, that's too easy because when one of them is the answer, you can see the answer. It's so much easier to recognize the answer than to have to think of it yourself. So if somebody gives you a language test that's multiple choice, you know it's not a good test. So I was looking through the questions and I was just getting frustrated because of how either too easy or too difficult the questions were. And by too difficult, I mean like ridiculous stuff that even native speakers don't know or use or say, like just not even realistic English that's only in written English, but not spoken English, or even some questions that used more like British English. And I only teach United States English here. So I just got frustrated with this test. And I said, you know what? I don't like these questions. I don't like this test. I think this is ridiculous. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to make a video like this. So then I asked ChatGPT if there is an official test made by the same people who made up these levels, these A1 to C2 levels. Do these people have an official test? And the answer is no, they don't. So these people had the audacity to make this A1 to C2 system, and they don't even have a test. They just have guidelines, and the guidelines are super vague, super general. So everybody, all the teachers, they're just guessing. They're just estimating how to measure these levels, how to evaluate these levels. It's all made up. Everybody has a different interpretation of it. And I think this goes without saying, but these tests don't really determine your true ability in English. This is an extreme oversimplification of your English ability. So then I asked ChatGPT to help me better understand these levels, give me sentences that students at each level should be able to use. That's all I said, able to use. And what I saw next completely shocked me. So ChatGPT gave me example sentences from A1 to C2 because I really wanted to see what are the differences here? What are these levels representing? What is the knowledge? What is the skill level behind these levels? So starting out with A1, beginner. These are the absolute basics of English. The sentences are, "Hi, my name is John. I live in New York. What is your name? I like pizza. Where is the bathroom? I have 2 brothers. This is my friend." So you can see it's all the same verb tense. It's all just simple present tense, your simple basic vocabulary. Then we have A2, which is considered elementary. The sentences are, "I usually get up at 7 o'clock. You don't need to say 7 o'clock. You can just say 7, by the way. "Can you help me find the train station?" We have no train station in the United States. "I went to the store yesterday." Okay, so we're using the past tense now. "She doesn't like coffee." "I want to buy a new phone. The weather is nice today, isn't it?" "I'm learning English because I want to travel." So you can see even in A2, the sentences are extremely basic. And it's funny because you would be shocked at the amount of comments that I receive on my YouTube videos of people saying that they are a beginner. And these are people who write a paragraph in English in the comment section and tell me that they're a beginner. And every time I have to tell them, you are not a beginner. Why do you think you're a beginner? A beginner is learning how to say, I want to buy a new phone. She doesn't like coffee. Just because you sometimes make mistakes on things that you're supposed to learn at the beginner level doesn't mean you're a beginner, okay? You don't have to be perfect at everything at the beginner level to say that you're past the beginner level. You just have to be generally competent at the beginner level. If you understand my videos talking in English, how I talk, how I normally talk like this, you're not a beginner. I don't care what the tests say. Next time I see one of your comments, like, I'm a beginner, I'm just going to reply, I want to buy a new phone. She doesn't like coffee. Okay, moving on to B1, intermediate. Last summer, I traveled to Mexico and loved it. Okay, so we're getting into a little bit more complex sentences now. A little bit more. I think studying English is important for my career. Could you explain how to use this app? I'm worried about the test tomorrow. In my opinion, social media has both good and bad effects. I usually go to the gym 3 times a week. When I was a child, I played football every weekend. So these sentences might seem simple and basic, but native speakers use these kind of sentences all the time, right? Like these are normal sentences that are totally normal, totally fine. Then we have B2, upper intermediate. Although it was raining, we decided to go hiking. Okay, it's getting a little bit more complex. The film was interesting, but I found the ending disappointing. If I had more time, I would learn to play the guitar. She explained the problem clearly, so everyone understood. Okay, so here's the thing. If you speak at that level, you can call yourself fluent. I don't care. I don't care what a test is. I don't care what anybody says. You can call yourself fluent if you speak at a B2 level. Not if you understand only, but if you speak, if you can speak at a B2 level, you can call yourself fluent in English, according to me, okay? Obviously, the way that I said the sentences, because I was reading them, it was very robotic, but in real life, it would sound more natural. But the point is that those are sentences that we use every day all the time. Like this is how native speakers talk. This is normal English, add some slang, add some idioms, add some connected speech and, fast talking and add the United States accent, boom. That's how we talk. That's everyday English. That's all you need. That's all that most people need. This is where it starts to get crazy. So now we're looking at C1 sentences. This is what ChatGPT told me is C1, advanced. Despite the challenges, the team managed to complete the project on schedule. His speech was compelling, highlighting the urgency of environmental conservation. The novel explores complex themes such as identity and belonging. The proposal, while ambitious, lacks sufficient data to support its claims. Okay, the reason why I'm saying that this is crazy is because we don't talk like this. Native speakers do not talk like this. This is written English. You got to understand that when we write English in a professional or academic context, we write like this if we're good writers, right? Some people are horrible at writing, a lot of people actually. For native speakers who have a general basic grasp of professional English writing or academic English writing, this is how we write. If we sit down and think about it and really try to make really nice English sentences and organize our thoughts in a very professional way, this is how we write. This is how we can write. But this is not how we speak. This is not, I don't care who you are. Most people are not talking like this. Even in professional situations, even in formal situations, even in a job interview, if you talk like this, you sound like a robot. You don't sound like a real person. You sound like you memorized a script. But if native speakers heard or read these sentences, we would have no problem understanding. And a lot of us, not all of us, but some of us could even write these sentences. But almost nobody actually talks like this. So this is where it's very important to understand the huge difference between input comprehension ability, also known as listening or reading, and speaking. Speaking is in its own category. Let's look at C2. Having thoroughly analyzed the report, I must concur with the conclusions drawn. I must concur. What are you, a British king from the 1600s? I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that in real life in my entire life. I don't even think people write like this. This is ridiculous. Okay, the next one. The intricacies of the legal system often baffle even seasoned professionals. To delineate the nuances between the two theories requires extensive knowledge and critical thinking. To delineate the nuances, I don't even know what that means. And I have no shame about that because it's not necessary to know that. And that's the thing, is that the reality is for most people learning a second or third language, they just need to be able to communicate with people well enough to possibly live in that country where they speak that language, have a job in that country, stuff like that. Most people don't need to be able to write academically in that language. So after looking at these example sentences, I've come to the conclusion that C1 and C2 level, according to these guidelines, according to these people, or at least according to ChatGPT, I don't know, these levels are totally irrelevant to your speaking ability. These levels are only useful to be concerned with if you are really trying to write academically, professionally, extensively, or you want to be able to read, this kind of advanced English writing. Because you're almost never going to hear people actually talking like this, and you're not really going to have a need to talk like this yourself. So if you just want to have a good, standard, everyday English speaking and listening ability, you only really need up to B2. Really, instead of these sentences, my version of C1, C2 would be all of the idioms and slang and crazy amount of phrasal verbs and all the connected speech, all of the hardest things about English. That's the C1, C2 level, not the having thoroughly analyzed the report, I must concur with the conclusions drawn. That's not what's hard in 2025. What's hard in 2025 is being able to understand those movies and TV shows that you want to watch on Netflix. Okay, that's C1, C2, baby. And I also just want to reiterate, I want to emphasize the importance of understanding that speaking and listening levels are different, even for native speakers. We understand so much more that we hear or read than we are able to speak ourselves. Listening is easy compared to speaking. You should never expect your speaking ability to be equal to your listening ability. That's not how the human brain and language works. Okay, real quick, I just want to talk about my Spanish because I consider myself advanced or fluent in Spanish. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes. That doesn't mean that I'm not often asking, how do you say this? What is this? How do I express this? What's the most common way of saying this? That's what I'm doing all the time. But I feel confident with my Spanish. I feel like I can have these fluid conversations. I can flow. I feel good. I think in the language. I express most of what I want to express. I can find a way of expressing it, even if I don't know the exact way. I feel good. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about how you feel and how easily you're able to communicate with people about a lot of different topics. So in order to understand this A1 to C2 level thing, I looked for one of those videos that's supposed to tell you what your level in Spanish is. So I found a video made by a very popular Spanish teaching channel on YouTube. I clicked on it. I skipped ahead to the C2 part because I'm not interested in all the other stuff. I just wanted to know, what is the C2 level in Spanish according to this teacher? And when she was starting, she said, okay, now it's going to get hard. You might not understand. It's going to get challenging. This is the C2 level. And I said, all right, show me what you got. I'm ready. And it was painfully easy. First of all, it was very slow and robotic. She was like reading a script. But yeah, it was just way too slow. Native speakers don't talk like that. They talk so much faster. The second problem was that she was just talking about what she does in a day. It was just a daily routine. And there were some advanced words thrown in there that maybe not all students know. But most of the words were just general Spanish words, everyday Spanish words. The majority of it, with just like a few extra advanced words thrown in there. But she was just talking about her daily routine. So it was very easy. And I was like, is this for real? Is she serious? Is this really the C2 level in Spanish? This is not. This is a joke. Or maybe I just have a C2 level, but I don't think so because I don't think I would be able to write professionally or academically in Spanish. As a matter of fact, I know that I can't. I know I can't do that. That's hard. I could probably read and understand a lot of it, but I don't think I could write like that, and I definitely couldn't speak like that. So that's why I don't think of myself as C2. I've never really had like a challenging job in Spanish. I just made YouTube videos in Spanish, but that's not that hard. So I'm not really sure if I'm C2. I don't know if I can really say that, but you know what? I don't care. Well, I passed the test on that video on YouTube, but I'm not concerned with it because at the end of the day, I am happy with my ability to use Spanish in real life situations. Okay, so in conclusion, to summarize, to wrap it up, I just wanted to make a video, come on here and rant and rave and say that nobody even knows what these levels mean. Everybody has a different idea. At the end of the day, they don't matter. Native speakers don't even talk like a C1, C2 level. That's not realistic. Yes, we understand it generally, but we don't talk like that. Thank you for watching until the end. It really helps me so much. I really appreciate you. And I hope you got something out of this video. Okay, enough talking. End the video. Bye. Oh, sorry. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.